CC here doing a well, this is just a voiceover of what was some really fun to play scout footage on the map. But I'm not even gonna pretend I know it. But basically in this video I'm gonna be telling you about genuine items versus vintage items, and it's a very simple concept, but it's not very understood greatly. Like, there's loads and loads of people out there that go, what is a genuine, what is a vintage, how do I get a genuine, how do I get a vintage? So to clarify at the very beginning of this video now, a genuine item is an item you get for rather pre-ordering an item, a video game off of the Steam marketplace, usually just the Steam marketplace, and you get that for it, or you can even buy an item off of the Valve website and you get it then. And then there's vintages. Now vintages you don't get like that, you get them a completely different way. You get a vintage item from basically if you report an item gets stolen and there was no way of actually accusing that person, but they've got a history. You will most likely get a vintage version of that item, only if it's an item that's that's been recorded as a vintage item before, as in there's already ones out on the market. You'd get a vintage one instead. So that only happens if you get scammed though. And there was also like the Pyrovision goggles. You got them if you witnessed an event or from a glitch that happened. I'm pretty sure the glitch was the event, but I can't remember. And if you there was patches that they did. If you owned a vintage version of the escape plan, you were given a vintage version of a few medic weapons, I think it were, and I have all of them vintage. So the main question is, what's better, vintage or genuine? Now, in full honesty, genuine, and for most players, they'll be looking at a vintage and go, oh look, it's got a blue background and it has the word vintage in front of it. Big whoop, no level ups or anything like that. With a genuine, you just see a green background with the word genuine in front of it. And the main argument is here, which one's better. Now, a vintage is mostly weapons, but there is hats. I have almost above half the vintage hats, and I love them all. And they're mostly the cooler ones, because when it comes to genuine items, you need to have a genuine item that's related to the game that it came from, and you kind of can't have like just new workshop things put into the tf2 game because a new game's come out, because it's not fair on workshop workers. Elves, I'm gonna call them elves from now on, and it's just not fair on them. So in full honesty, I think if you were to say genuine, the one you get if you pre-order a game versus vintage, the item you get if you work for it, if you see an event, or if you're truly committed to the game. In full honesty, I think vintage wins in this argument. Not because it's one of my preferred favourites, just because it's it shows commitment. Genuine, you could be someone who pre-ordered quite a bundle of games, and you got all these genuine items, and it's you don't have commitment to the games. You just bought another game and you got them for free. But with vintage, you're actually showing that you spent time on the game and that you've been with it for ever since 2007 or earlier even. So I think the vintage are going to win this argument. Vintage is always more expensive. If you look at vintage hats compared to genuine hats, there's only a few genuine hats that are actually really pricey, and they're from the Assassin's Creed games, Hitman Obsolete. There's a very short amount of expensive genuine hats, but vintage you've got all sorts. Like there was even vintage slot tokens and vintage earbuds, and